Yeah, what are you guys feeling about the whole Calvin Ridley to Chris Godwin comps from last year?
Right here.
What's up, Whisper Nation? You're listening to our full in-depth matchup show. Of course, if you want to listen to this show after week 4, it will be exclusively on Patreon. So make sure you get over to Patreon and subscribe. At the $1 level, you can get our audio of the full matchup in-depth show. We go team by team for every fantasy relevant player. For $5 level, you can get the video so you can see our beautiful faces do it as well. So head on over to patreon.com, search the Fantasy Whisperers today. All right, moving on to our next game. We've got Dallas hosting the Atlanta Falcons in what Vegas thinks should be a shootout. 52-point over-under. 5-point favorites are the Dallas Cowboys. But Summy, I'm kind of hesitant to go ahead and like crown Dallas as a barn burner team after how slow that offense looked. I mean, last week, Dak Prescott, who was supposed to be a guy you could smash as an elite quarterback this year, based on all the weapons around him, finishes the QB 18. The average depth of target was 6.6. That's just making me puke a little bit here. Atlanta surrendering 319 yards and 4 touchdowns to Russell Wilson. Is this the get-right spot for Dak Prescott?
I think it could be, yeah. I mentioned this last week. If you guys were tuned into our matchup show for week 1, I just kind of mentioned a contrarian viewpoint where, everyone's expecting this offense to be kind of picking up where it left off last year. But I did point out the injuries to the offensive line. And if you guys think back to the year that Zeke was suspended, Tyron Smith, their left tackle, was also injured with a back injury. And, the fantasy community was really torn on what's causing Dak Prescott to suck. Is it Tyron Smith being out or is it Zeke Elliott being out? This team is Zeke's team.
That's just suck.
Yeah, I mean, some people realize,
I
am not on that bandwagon. He's not on my, game time sucking list. But
right,
that was definitely a question. People.
And now
what the hell is a game time sucking list?
Hey,
that's a list that Johnny takes out before the game starts. He's like, "Who's on my sucking list today?" I'm not going to start them. But no, I mean, like, we kind of saw that rear its ugly head, right? Where Dak he doesn't have time to let routes develop downfield. He's not throwing it deep. His average depth of target, like you mentioned, is 6.6. This is why you don't draft a quarterback early, right? This is why you don't take a quarterback in the 6th round, because you can get a Cam Newton in the 10th, 11th round. You can get a Gardner Minshew in the 15th round.
Gardner MF Minshew, baby.
Gardner T. Minshew, baby.
I agree with you. I think this is a get-right spot, though. But, yeah, maybe this is, just a reminder not to take QB early. Zeke, we love to see him, and I'm sure the listeners who have him want to hear us talk about how great it is to see him getting more work out of the backfield as a pass catcher. That happened in this game to an extent. We like to see that. But let's talk about this wide receiving core, because even to shock to me, who loves CeeDee Lamb coming out of college, I mean, I thought he looked good. He out-targeted, out-produced Michael Gallup, went 5 for 6 for 59 yards on 82% of the snaps. With this injury to Blake Jarwin, CeeDee Lamb looks poised to be ready before we were even ready for him to be ready. I mean, is that kind of how you feel this wide receiving core shaking out, Johnny?
Yeah, I definitely that he looked great. I am excited for his future. I think that with the Blake Jarwin injury, he will continue to the targets that, and I think that I'm a little worried now for Michael Gallup out of the 3, which is kind of interesting. Coming in, I was actually the most comfortable with Michael Gallup. But now seeing what we saw with Amari Cooper, I think they're going to target him a lot. I mean, he had Ramsey on him and he still got 14 targets. Like that shows that they're going to use him a lot. And then the fact that, that CeeDee Lamb got more targets than Michael Gallup. That is and the fact that Dak didn't throw it deep. Michael Gallup is taking a lot of those shallower routes, so he might be the more, reliable fantasy option moving forward.
Yeah, well, Michael Gallup actually was the one that was deepest on the field for the wide receivers. He was their best deep threat in Dallas. His average depth of target was 10.33, yards per reception was 16.67, and then So he is getting down the field. But yeah, to your point, Johnny, Dak is not really going down the field, or at least he didn't in week. And to Summy's point, will this be a dink and dunk offense with the line issues they're having? Yeah, you've got to be a little worried here. But I will say this. DK just torched Atlanta, 4 for 95 and a touchdown. DK is the deep threat pretty much in Seattle. I know Tyler can get down there too. But I would like to fire up all three of these wide receivers in this game. High over under. I think Atlanta just got torched, like we said. Go ahead and go there. As far as Dalton Schultz, nothing to see here. This is CeeDee Lamb's time. We're not going to discuss any tight ends for Dallas. It just doesn't make a lot of sense until we see something pop. On the other side of the ball, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Nobody threw for more attempts than Matt Ryan last week. Nobody threw for more yards than Matt Ryan last week. And he finished as the QB7 overall. This is the second highest over-under on the docket. Speaking of going quarterback late, you can do that with a guy like Matt Ryan and then get rewarded when he does things like he did last week, and he's poised to do it again. Want to talk Todd Gurley, Summy. 14 for 56 and a rushing touchdown. 1 for 5, only 1 yard receiving, but the 5 targets are nice. We like to see that because he wasn't getting that kind of volume in L.A. Talk to me about Todd Gurley. He's not cashed yet, so are you still stoked for him to try and do something as an RB2?
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. He looked good last week for sure. And, I wasn't as high on him coming into the season. He's definitely not the Todd Gurley of days old, right? He's not right where he used to be on the Rams. But I think, this offense, it's going to run through the passing game. Todd Gurley's going to take all the goal line touches. He's going to take all the valuable touches. That's what we like to see. He is involved in the passing game. I think I'm comfortable firing him up as an RB2, and he's going to continue to see volume. So anything behind him, I don't really like any running backs behind him. I think Todd Gurley is the only running back to own here. Even if he does go down, again, it's going to run through the passing attack, and it's not really going to be reliant on the ground game. But what do you guys feel about this passing attack? I mean, do you feel like it can sustain 12 targets for each of these receivers every single week?
Maybe not every single week, but I mean, it's definitely going to be, I think, a pretty significant thing. Look, that defense is so bad, and so they are going to be, either behind in a lot of games, trying to keep pace in a lot of games, and I don't, the offensive line isn't particularly great, and so I think that you could see a lot of games where they are throwing a lot of, you could see 8 targets, amongst the pass catchers there. I think Russell Gage is here to stay. I think that's going to be the third guy. And we've seen this throughout the career of Matt Ryan. Like, this is what he does. He throws for over 4,000 yards every single year and gets, 26 plus touchdowns. So I don't think that's any different. And
they'll all go to Calvin Ridley, it looks like. So Julio can just...
Yeah, what are you guys feeling about the whole Calvin Ridley to Chris Godwin comps from last year? Do you guys think that Calvin Ridley is about to have...
They're a lazy comp, I think, from the aspect of the offenses being completely kind of different. But they are not a lazy comp in the idea that Calvin Ridley can easily break out this year. I mean, he is the touchdown guy. You can try to say that you can't quantify it, but Ridley is the big play guy for them. And he continues to do it. So until further notice, Ridley should be locked in your lineups. And I feel bad. And, I know on our lineup show, we were actually having Ridley benched in a couple spots. And I feel bad for doing that. But hopefully you guys were able to survive that. I do want to talk about the Hayden Hurst, because to me, guys, I think Hayden Hurst is a hold here. Now, he was probably seeing quite a bit of Jamal Adams in this game, who was all over the field and just like really dominating the game from a defensive standpoint. And I know that there are going to be games where Gage probably takes over as the number 3, but I think that Hayden Hurst ran one of the top 5 in routes run from the tight end position. So you still like to see that. He had a beautiful splash play for 27 yards. Other than that, not really, exciting. But I think as far as tight ends concerned, you should just hold just a couple more weeks and see what Hurst is able to do in this offense. Especially in this overrun.
I just don't understand, like, if we hit this, and we talk about it all the time, like wide receivers going from one team to another are going to digress. Like, why is the tight end position susceptible to that? And it's like
tight end is different because, well, you when you get in line and you're a blocker, you're more deceptive where you can actually break away and you can leak out to the flat, or you can leak out over the middle of the field and go on a passing route. So wide receivers, it takes a little bit more chemistry, some more timing with the quarterback where, hey, if I run a 5-yard hitch route or when am I going to be here, and where's this chemistry at? Whereas a tight end, it's a big body over the field, kind of a safety blanket. So the transition from team to team, it doesn't carry that much risk compared to a wide receiver. But DeAndre Hopkins is wrong.
I would disagree with. I think stats would disagree with.
I just don't know that there's a ton of options for you to be just dumping Hayden Hurst. Yeah, like Logan Thomas was out there and Goddard was out there. Maybe you had to pay up to get them. I think Hurst should stay in your lineup for at least another week, especially with this high over-under, and then see what happens after that. Especially for when tight ends are running a lot of routes, that's usually equates to points in fantasy, and especially in a team like this and a Dirk Cutter team that targets the tight end quite a bit. I think it could end up being profitable. That's all.
Yeah, you're gonna regret it if you end up dropping Hayden Hurst. I mean, I'd expect him to have a breakout game this week. He has a great matchup. So
you heard it here first. Summy calling the breakout for Hayden Hurst.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.